again, in the interest of playing devil's advocate, right? You didn't have resources. You didn't have, essentially what you're advocating for, and you managed to do it. What separates you from all those that don't?
Well, a lot of them don't want to join the military, or they can't join the military because unfortunately they fucked up. I joined the military, and the military did it for me.
Yeah.
But even then, just because you go into the military, that doesn't mean you can change because you want to change. Because I've seen kids go enter, and they come out, and unfortunately, I hear the military was nothing but a waste of my time. This, and that. Well, because you didn't give into it.
Yeah.
You had the same mindset that you had before, from wherever you were from, even if it's a good upbringing, and you just didn't want to be told something, and you didn't want to challenge yourself physically, mentally.
Yeah. So do you think, again, in trying to replicate your story, because it's a success story, right? Is it, how do you, even in the absence of resources and, kind of putting whether it's money or whatever into that community, how do you replicate your story? Because to me, it seems like it's partly fucking genetic, in that there's, just like you said, there's the 10% of people, it doesn't fucking matter what you do for them, they just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But on the other end of the spectrum, you being a classic textbook example of that, is that even in the absence of all of the give a shit, the resources, whatever, you still manage to do it. Why is that?
And because it's something within us that want us to get out of the situation that we're in. Because now, I've helped. When I got out of the military, I started sharing some cool guy pictures and combat footage, and then dudes would message me, and it always started the same thing, like, "Hey man, no offense, but you're small. So how did you become an Army Ranger?" And I would help them,
Yeah.
And then by now,
No offense.
I would. So that alone, right away, let me know, because I would click on their profile, and there would be, high school or college athletes, and they were already bigger than me. So I knew it wasn't a physical thing; it was a mental thing for them.
Yeah.
And I would talk to them, tell them things that, I know it sounds corny, but like, you got to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And it's mostly mental and stuff like that, and so on and so on. And then at this point, I think I've had a minimum of like 10 dudes, months later, be like, "Hey man, you and I talked. Here I am at my graduation with my tambourine."
Oh shit.
And then one of them then being at the Q course, becoming SF. And
Yeah.
then I've helped another. Oh, he's done the work.
Yeah.
I just feel like I've just given information that's already there.
Yeah.
And I feel like it should be for free.
Yeah.
So, but where I'm going with this is that, as it grew, my following grew and stuff like that, and my reach, next thing you know, I'm getting gang members, and be like, "Dude, I'm from a neighborhood just like you, or I'm this and that, and I wanted to get out." And then it's not, they don't even want anything from me. They just want to tell me the story. And one of them that comes out is he's an EMT now, and he sent me a picture of him when he was a gang member. And he's like, I feel you. He's like, I'm glad that you're out there giving the example, because I didn't see any of it.
Have you thought about writing a book?
No, I can barely write a post without making grammar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what professional writers help you with. It's your story. They just help you write it. But,
well, that's what people keep telling me.
Yeah.
Write a book. When is the book gonna come out? And I don't know.
Yeah, you should do it for sure. But all right. So in terms of that transition, it was a waiting game of, you were doing what you had to do basically to get by and help feed your family until you were old enough to join. Then you joined. Walk me through what that was like from your perspective of going from basically a chaotic fucking low structure environment. I am curious what your grades were like in high school.
Oh, terrible. I the only thing I passed was math and PE.
Yeah.
After that, I failed everything.
Yeah, but you graduated, right?
Not even that, because the recruiter, because you asked what was the event that made me think like, yo, this is not a lifestyle. Well, one, I already knew I wanted to, right? And I wanted to do it, one, because I grew up on food stamps, and the country gave me something, and I wanted to give it back. And then the country got attacked. The country that I love got attacked, so I wanted to do my service. So there's all that. But then there's also this one event where SWAT raided 4 of our houses at the same time. They know for what. And I'm like, and I didn't even go to jail. Because if you're gonna do something dumb, I always said to be smart about it.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
I skipped. I don't even know. I looked it up one time, but however many years that was, it's double digits. I'm like, all right, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
So you dropped out of school.
Yeah, because I went to a recruiter, and he's like, all you need is your GED. And he's like, when do you turn 17 and a half? And I was like, yeah, in 2 weeks or whatever. And he's like, that's all you need to be, 17 and a half. So I wasn't living with my mom, so then me being 17 and a half, she had to sign, you know.
Where were you living if you weren't with her?
My friend's house.
Yeah.
He had a great mother. She brought me in, and she saw it. She's like, quit hanging out with them. You know better.
Yeah.
And that's when people would tell me that, it's like I knew they were right, but like, what were my fucking options?
Yeah.
So I joined, and 4 months later, after basic, I was in Iraq.
Oh shit! What was your first MOS?
Combat engineer, so 12 Bravo.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I would watch National Geographic all the time, and the Discovery Channel, and I saw that IEDs. I didn't know at the time. I didn't really understand what IEDs were, but I saw that IEDs were killing service members, and I would get pissed off every time. I would hear about it. So I had my little spiel before I walked to the recruiter station, and I was like, my name's Angel Cortes. I see that IEDs kill soldiers. Is there something that I can do that finds them or the people who do this? And then the recruiter's like, you can either do EOD or combat engineer. And then he told me what EOD was and all the schooling, and I already knew. I was like, well, I'm not gonna make EOD. I'm like, besides math and PE, I failed everything else. And I was like, well, I'll do combat engineer. And he's like, okay. You'll do a route clearance. So you're basically going to go look for bombs on the roads and in the dirt alleys and stuff like that. And I was like, all right. So I got sent to Missouri, which was the first time I felt humidity, which was the first time I was out of the fucking state, let alone the area,
This is for combat engineer school? Where'd you go to boot camp?
Fort Leonard Wood.
Also in Missouri, right?
Yep.
I am curious, like, was it a fucking culture shock? Like when you first were there, were you like, what in the fuck?
100%. Like, the white kids I went to school with weren't the white kids I was, they talk different. They
met some Southern boys, probably.
Yeah. And, one of them, that was the first time them seeing a black person in person.
Yeah.
They were just as curious about us as we were curious about them, and it just turned out that, because I was in second platoon, that for whatever reason, maybe they did it on purpose, but all the inner city kids they put in second platoon.
Yeah.
So it's not just Mexicans, you got blacks, you got whites, so we're all there, but we're all from either Boston, New York, you name it, any major city, they got rough parts, and that color varies. So we all became friends. We fought in the beginning, and then once that settled, we all became friends because we realized we were in the same, we're here for the same purpose. But yeah, that culture, that was a huge culture shock. The area, how they talked, how everything, that was the first time I saw snow.
Yeah. Was at that point you'd been living on your own and making enough money to eat, I'm assuming. Was there a semblance of relief in being provided for in such a structured way?
100%. Well, first of all, I didn't even know you got paid to be in the military.
No shit.
The recruiter was telling me, he was giving me he had a brochure of like what the base looked like, and you have all these resources for you and this and that, and you're gonna have your own room. He showed me a picture of the room, and because how I was raised, the picture of that room alone, I couldn't believe it. A bed for myself, I never had that. I don't know what I don't think I ever had a bed that was my bed. So that alone weirded me out.
Yeah.
And then he's going through the pay grades, and then I was just like, I was just nodding, like, and I knew what he was saying, but I didn't. And then I finally was like, what is this? He's like, how much are you gonna get paid? And then I told him, you get paid for this? And the look he fucking had on his face, and he's like, yeah. And I was like, I just thought you just did it. The way I saw it was, you join the military, they take care of you, as in they provide food, shelter, and clothes, and then therefore that's your big reward.
Yeah.
I didn't even know anything about education benefits at the time. I didn't give a fuck, but now I'm just like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
And then the pay. So right off the bat, I was already making more money than my family.
Yeah. At that point, food-wise, the military chow halls aren't exactly known for being gourmet, but again, contrasted to how you grew up, where you're like, dude, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I gained weight in basic training.
Yeah.
Dudes were losing weight, and I was gaining weight.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, that's a trip. During that process, like in basic training and early on in your Army career, were there times where you kind of reflected on being in gangs or growing up the way that you did, and that steering you in certain directions or motivating you in ways, just an impact in general? Like what did that have, or did it have?
Yeah, so
talk about that.
I wanted to change, but a piece of me was still stuck. So the whole respect thing, I had to realize that it's not that serious for some people. It's serious to you and other people from inner cities, where if you say something, or I'm pretty sure it's like that in rural areas, but not everybody in the world takes everything personally.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they I remember one time in line, they're like, I wasn't paying attention, and I got hit, I got shoved in the back, like, yo, move. And it's because the line was moving. And I remember I held that in for 15 minutes, and I waited for my opportunity to fight the guy. But he was just saying, because the line's fucking moving, let's go.
Yeah.
So there was a piece of me that, I would say for almost a year, it was tough to be like, yo, this isn't the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody understands that how you communicate and so on, Yeah.
There is a huge disparity there, because I know, the way that you're talked to early on in your career in the military is about as disrespectful as it gets,
But from leadership and above, oh, I loved it. I loved it because this is who I looked up to.
Yeah.
The dudes who were in basic training with me, I didn't respect the same way.
Yeah.
But the drill sergeants, anybody above, I was like, this is who I wanted. This is who I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And now they're in front of me.
Yeah. So it takes you a year to kind of balance out and understanding that you're interacting with people a little different. Were there times where you got into fist fights and shit? In that first year,
I got in 2 fights. One of them being in the cattle truck, going from a range. One of the dudes, he said something, and then he's like, and I was like, what? And I was just tired from the range and getting smoked and this and that, and he said that. And again, I didn't respect them. That wasn't the right thing to do, but I just didn't respect them to the level I respected the service members who'd actually been overseas and stuff like that. And, I was like, let's go. And he's like, really? We're all, for the people who haven't been in one of those cattle trucks, they shove in as many, recruits as they fucking can with all their rucksacks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just took it off, and I was like, right here, right now. And just started fighting.
Did you get in trouble for it?
Yeah, you know what they made us do? Because I fucked him up, and they saw him all bloody, and they saw me all I looked like I just got in a fight too, because he hit me too, all heated. They made us fucking hold hands for the for the rest of the week. So
fucking military is brilliant that way.
So
God damn it.
We're fucking holding hands for a whole week. If he went to the bathroom, I had to go to the bathroom.
Oh man.
So on and so on. And the only time I could let go was, when it's time to go to sleep, because we didn't sleep in the same room.
Yeah. Did that fix the issue? Did you guys?
Yeah, and then us obviously getting our asses kicked and going through something that let us learn about ourselves and what we can do and not do, and put us through this emotional and physical roller coaster.
Yeah.
We were like, it wasn't even that serious.
Yeah. Did you? Are you friends with him now, or?
No, I don't even know where.
Yeah. But it was amicable at least the rest of the time.
Yeah.
That's a trip, man. All right, so 4 months after you join, you wind up in Iraq. Tell me about your first deployment, and again, culture shock. You know what was going through your mind when you were boots on the ground?
So
like, holy fuck.
the first thing I was like, okay, all the war footage, all this and that. Like, I want, just like almost every new guy, I wanted to be in a firefight. I wanted to be tested. I wanted to know what I was made out of. So it was, people were dying and getting hurt, but compared to what it was like during the invasion, like the more senior guys would say things like, this deployment ain't shit.
Yeah.
I mean, there were still people dying, people getting hurt. Iraq was the first time I actually had, in Afghanistan we had RPGs, real close, and we'll go to that. But in Iraq, for me, that was the first time I had heard actual rockets.
Yeah.
Like fucking rockets shot at us. I mean, we had a dead-on mortar attack. I mean, they shot us a lot, but I'm talking about dead-on. Like, the guy in front of me got hit in the neck. The guy in front of him in the ribs. The service member in front of them fucking died. A couple of pop shots here and there and this and that. It was mostly them attacking us at the big base. And then the culture, I was just when people say it's a different country, unless you've traveled, I would say that doesn't justify it. It's not being in another country. It's more like being on another planet.
Yeah.
In the United States, when you go from corner to corner, it's more like being in a different country. You go to I just came back from the Pacific Northwest and then traveled to California, and then out here I'm in Texas.
Yeah.
And it's all the United States. No, they might as well be a different, each be their own little country.
Yeah.
Because it's so different. So when you go over there, it's like another planet.
Yeah.
They don't even speak the same language. They're not even into the same things. They don't even dress. It's the cities of Iraq. So like, where the fuck do you aim your weapon? There's windows everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Was that deployment? What year was that?
2009.
Okay. So I'm curious, I guess, from the standpoint of the things that you went through as a kid, because the gang banging experience is, I would say, generally a little above and beyond what most kids from America experience. Yeah. Do you think that actually helped you in terms of being prepared for a combat environment? Yeah,
because it wasn't the first time I experienced violence.
And being shot at.
And then me, being violent towards a human being.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people to say, I'm so angry, I would have, or I'm going to, Yeah. But once you do it, once you hurt another human being, you've crossed the line. You've crossed the line that there's no crossing back. And it affects people differently. And then once it comes the other way around, that's also different. Once they kill some of your friends, or they almost kill you, or they injure you, there's no return. There's no how life used to be before that.
Now, are you talking, this was back when you were growing up, or?
Well, both.
Both, yeah.
I'm just saying in general.
Yeah.
So when I went over there, seeing a dead body, I mean, that wasn't the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the experiences that you had in your high school age range were more that way than most kids, I think, Were there times where you thought about what you were doing as a kid growing up while you were in Iraq? Was there ever like any almost kind of flashbacks of it reminding you of anything?
No, because this is what I looked up to since I was a little kid, and it had value. I was doing something. I was doing something meaningful. I was doing something that was way bigger than me.
Yeah.
And I was learning. On the streets, I thought I was a man. I was not a man. I became a man, in my opinion, in the military.
Yeah.
So I was developing, changing, and I forget a lot about a lot of things that I did, until, my friends or family members tell me that you did this or you did that, or I forget about how much things my little brother was around. He's like, yeah, I remember you with your gun, and, and you guys, there was a shootout, and I was just like, what the fuck? Like, you were there for that? He's like, yeah. So me being, 15, 16, or 17, that means my little brother's like 9.
Yeah.
You know.
I guess, from going through that as a kid or being involved in that, it's something that you grow up with, right? I know a lot of it is because of the situation that you were in. I'm curious, were there ever times early on in the military or at all where you found yourself having the same mentality in terms of going against the grain, breaking rules, doing shit that was illegal once you were in the military, or did being in that structured environment make you kind of want to be on the straight and narrow?
On the civilian side, it made me be straight, and narrow, but there's some things that war isn't pretty, and people want to make it pretty. It's not black and white. There's a lot of gray, and if you want to, in my opinion, if you're not going yourself, right, and you're sending people, usually the young, Americans, to go fight, you should let them go fight and win this war. So when you put restraints, and restrictions, were there restraints and restrictions that, I don't want to follow? Fuck yeah. Because, I feel like it does connect, because technically, purposely I did.
Yeah. I guess, I guess my question is I certainly understand that, and I think, take myself as an example, the high school I grew up in was a lot rougher than I think people realize. There were drugs and guns, there were drive-by shootings in my town, there were gangs. It was not a nice fucking experience by any stretch, but I wasn't involved in any of it. Mm-hmm. And even with that, like, I found myself overseas having the exact same mentality as you just spoke of, and I think most of us feel that way, and that no different than, like, if you call a plumber to come unfuck your sink, you don't tell him how to fucking turn the wrench, yeah. Right? Like, fix the sink, you do what you need to do to fix it. If that means you got to temporarily flood my fucking kitchen, then, well, that's part of it. And I think, that's the best analogy I can really give as to the military experience, is that most of us, I think, hey, if you're telling us to go over to this country and take it over, leave it to us how the fuck we accomplish that.
100%.
But I guess, where I'm curious of is even within the scope of the military, were there times where you're like, fuck, I could just steal that, or maybe I'll hold this motherfucker up? Like, did that element of you change?
Some of it, a lot of it has changed, but a lot of it hasn't. Like, for example, if my boy was supplying, he gave me some free fucking pens and notepads, fuck yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But never was I like, you know what, maybe I can steal all these laptops or whatever. No, because in my eyes, I made it.
Yeah.
I fucking made it. Why would I not?
Yeah.
Why would I fuck this up?
Yeah.
But did I do illegal things? Fuck, I'm a fucking American, all right? So, like, for example, I remember there was a story of this former gang member who became a Marine, all right? Went to deploy to Afghanistan, and then came back, went to a house party, and people who he used to have beef with, they shot him.
Oh, shit.
So...
This was in California, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that,
so
actually.
When I would go home, and have fun, before I got, married and had kids and stuff like that, I want to protect myself, So, I guess by the laws of where I was at, I guess that's illegal. And then, when I would deploy and come back, states that I was at they were cool. Georgia doesn't give a fuck. Washington, for the most part, doesn't give a fuck. But when I would come home, I was still not necessarily genuinely concerned about my past, but I was just so used to having a weapon that, sometimes I would catch myself with a rifle and be like, yo, dude, and then I had to tell myself, chill, like, dude,
yeah.
I know you're back from deployment, but, like, you don't need to be carrying a rifle in your car.
Yeah, especially in California. So I'm curious then, I think I know where your stance is on, gang life, gang mentality, your associations. I'm assuming you don't have associations with any of the guys that you
No.
did.
So, only one person asked me, and I think I want to address this people always ask me, like, how did you get out? You know? Well, I did the military, but only one person asked me, like, no, but how did you leave the gang? Because they don't let you, which is 100% true. But, you know, just like probably how it is in the teams, you're all SEALs, but you guys have a little group. And within the gang, I have my own little group. And luckily for me, we were the ones doing the majority of the violent crimes.
Yeah.
So when
So you didn't really have anybody to answer to.
not just that, but when I left, before I joined the military, I took 8 people with me.
Oh, no shit.
And it was funny because the ones who I thought would be understanding weren't. They saw me as a pussy, as a bitch, as a traitor. And then the ones that I thought would have issues would be like, do it, man.
No shit.
So when I got out, I told him, you know, because all of them were like, hey, man, like, you're unspoken, like, not unspoken. You're our leader, unofficial, but like you're the leader. And you know, so I took it upon myself, and I let them know, like, if you're gonna come at us 100%, because that's, you know how I am.
Yeah.
You know how we are.
Yeah.
So it's all or nothing.
Yeah. So there's in going back, like there is no real association. Do you know if any of those guys that you used to run with are still doing it?
Yeah. A lot of them still are, for sure, because I mean, I don't live in those areas, but some of my family members, they're poor, so I still go around. I still have to go around those areas.
Yeah. They recognize you? You ever see any of them?
No, I've seen some of them, but not the main ones. Everyone leaves me alone. I think they respect that, and if they don't, it's fear, because they know that, like, fuck, if he used to be something to be reckoned with, now look at him.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think everyone just understands that, like, yo, this dude, he's moved on, he's doing big things.
Yeah.
You know, and then I think they themselves have grown and been like, fucking made it, man. Good for you.
Yeah.
But I don't associate myself with any of them. And then the ones out of the 8 of us, only, including myself, including me in the 8, only 3 of us actually did something, I would say, like, successful.
The other 5 just did an enlistment and got out, or what?
No. One lost him to drugs. You know. The other one just left the area.
Yeah.
And then one, unfortunately, you know, tried to rob a bank. Now doing federal time.
Yeah. I'm assuming that there's been other guys that, you know, have done a similar path as you, where, you know, they were gangbangers. They got out of the gang, i.e. transitioned into the military, learned a specific skill set. And I'm just thinking, you know, from a statistical standpoint, like, I can only assume that there's been at least some people that have taken the skills used in the military, specifically within special operations, and have thought to themselves, like, dude, I could go back and we could fucking wreck shop, you know, with knowing now, you know, what I've learned here, and I've been to combat, whatever. Is there any examples of that you know of?
No. I mean, there's one, like, you heard on the news, right? You know, that he was a former, you know, gang member and did that, and then he went to go work for the cartel or whatever. I don't know. But I think for the most part, at that point, I mean, from all the dudes I've known, they gone out and done, you know,
bigger and better legit things.
Yeah, private security. You know, not private security, contracting.
Yeah.
Why would you go back and fuck with that when? And I've said this multiple times. It's funner to be on this end.
Yeah.
I tell people, like, look, man, I've changed, but I'm still doing a lot of things that I used to do.
Yeah.
And they're cool with it here. I mean, you're right. I own guns. I own guns now. I go shoot, but I'm doing it illegally. There's nothing wrong with that. You're running around with, you know, dudes who you consider your boys, making money. Yeah. You know, whether it's overseas and in a uniform, or you get out and you become a contractor.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, it's good shit. It's good to hear. I mean, because I know that in a lot of areas of life, money corrupts everything.
Yeah.
You know, money and power. You know, and the prospect of, you know, the tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars that that so many cartels, or fuck for that matter, billions of dollars with a number of them, have the ability to generate. It's just like, that's a pretty stark contrast when you're looking at, even if you're doing well by yourself and Uncle Sam's taking 38 fucking percent, and you're having to pay property tax and do all the things, and you're like, fuck, man, these guys are rolling in fucking money, whatever. I just, again, just curious, knowing that I can only assume, maybe I've seen too many fucking movies. I don't know, but
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some former. I mean, it doesn't even have to be special operations. Just call it a former infantryman who just doesn't have wife or kids.
Yeah.
And is like, fuck it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.